Those are
Whether
always fun to have.
I know I have
I
it. Let
love
me
those.
put it up.
Alhamdulillah.
Uh,
And I'm always,
that's weird. Hold on. There we
those are
go.
always fun to have.
Thought I did
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, okay, we're live. Alhamdulillah. I know we've got backgrounds, we've got live streams, and all the fun Rabata flavor in all the spaces. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Anse Sumeyya, for joining today. We're going to have a little chat about your story as a Rabata volunteer, a Ribaat student. You're local to Chicago. You're a mom of three, mashallah, and just talk a little bit about your experience in doing the Rabata Global Dhikr collections. So at Rabata, we have beautiful programs under this umbrella of Tarbiya programs. And Tarbiya programs are all about spiritual development. They're about enriching your soul and getting connected to your purpose in life, but to do that with different forms of ibadah, inshallah. So we'll jump right in, inshallah. And I'd like to hear from you, Auntie Sumeyya. When did you first discover Rabata's like dhikr programs or tarbiyah programs?
So, Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah. Thank you so much for having me on. Um, so I have to really go back in time for this because I feel like it's been a while that I've been here, and I think in 2012 I met Anse at a retreat in Michigan. At the time I was not married, and I remember like hearing about. I think the first time that I really did a proper for the Dhikr collection was we did the Million Salawat program. Yeah, I think that's what it was, million salawat, and where we were collecting, it was either 1 million or 10 million salawat for the month of Rabiul Awal. And it was so this was a few months after I'd met Anse, and I was like, hey, you know what? I think I can do this. And I kind of just I jumped in, not really knowing much about how to do, a collection of dhikr. I have, alhamdulillah, been blessed that I grew up in a family where, we were people were reciting Quran and there was dhikr happening, but the idea of reaching a high number was not something that I was familiar with. You were kind of just like, I was just taught, okay, you should do, your 300 salawat on Friday, you do a little bit, every day, 100 every day, something like that. But not this idea of collecting thousands was I had heard of it, but I just didn't know. Actually, I didn't know any young people who were doing this. I didn't know anyone my age who was doing it. I knew about mom. My mom does that where she will collect and she will sit and she has this mashallah, she has this tasbih that's like 1,000 tasbih, like she I don't know, somebody got it for her from overseas, and so she does that. She has her monthly goals, but I thought this was something. I think in my head, I thought it was something that like, oh, when you get to a certain level, then you achieve that, or you try for it or something, in your spirituality, when you get to a certain level in your spirituality. So it wasn't even something that I thought that I could do. But alhamdulillah, through Rabata, saw like, I was like, wow, mashallah, there's like these young people, there's moms, there's all these women from different walks of life, and everybody's just trying, and I remember Anse telling us that let's try for the 70,000 salawat in the month of Rabiul Awwal. And at that time as well, I was going through some difficult, like emotional things. I was just like really down in the dumps. I remember being really depressed. And there's various reasons, but just as one is growing up, you go through things. So I remember feeling that, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I made a goal. And like I said, previous to that, I had done just a few like 100 here or there. I don't know if I had done pilgrims at home at that point when I started the Dhikr collection for Salawat at least. So yeah, so I did it for that first year, and alhamdulillah, I was able to do it. That was, I think, one of the few years where I was actually able to complete all 70,000, because I personally struggle with that. I feel like Quran is my strong point, so I find that easier. And I remember talking to Anse about it, and she would say, "Do what's easy. Do the ibadah that's easy for you. What is it that you can do that and do a lot of it?" So, alhamdulillah, I was able to do that, and it had such a profound effect on my life. And I honestly feel it had a profound effect on the trajectory of my life because um, one, I realized I was like, wait, I can do this. I have to push myself, yes, but it's possible. But then, of course, when you do it, our teachers tell us that there are doors that open. These numbers are not just random numbers. These are numbers that the ulama have found through years, through centuries, that certain numbers of akar open certain doors for you, of spirituality. And I feel like I felt that in that month, and then just the barakah that came from it in my life. And it was so profound. It was something that I just, you once you taste faith, you're just hooked. And I was hooked. I was like, that's it. This is I know this is the path I'm supposed to be on. Whether I struggle and fall off it like 100 times, and every month I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and I might not reach that goal, but the goal for me is always just stay on the path. Just keep clinging to it, keep coming back, keep trying, keep doing your azkar, and keep yourself connected. Alhamdulillah, to that. So yeah, it was really, really, it was really beautiful, and I'm so grateful for Rabata for putting that kind of effort forward, because I don't think at that time, or even now, I can't really think of any organizations where there is such an emphasis on ibadah. I mean, learning alhamdulillah is so important, but learning without putting it into action is just kind of like, in one ear out the other. You'll remember it for a few seasons of your life, maybe. But then and it goes out. And it doesn't lead to knowledge, does not lead to change unless you apply it, right? So and our ibadah, even though it's difficult and you have to push yourself, and like right now we're in the days of Dhul Hijjah, and everybody's pushing themselves, or just started on pilgrims at home. I realized that ibadah and the knowledge has to go hand in hand. Without it, it's really like, it's like kind of like earning that college degree that you maybe never use again, especially if you're like me, who I have a college degree in liberal art. I have my degrees in sociology. So, which is, alhamdulillah, I love sociology. I still love it. But do I use it on a day-to-day basis? Probably not. But I do, I'm grateful for the knowledge I gained, in it. So, yeah.
Alhamdulillah. I
I'm
love
gonna
it.
stop now. I ramble on.
No,
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, it's so beautiful because you had, like you said, like shared the journey of not being married yet, meeting Auntie Tamara in Michigan, being exposed to all this, and then having kind of a guideline and a guidebook to help you along in your different life transitions. Like moving state to state is a huge life transition. You're still in the Midwest, but I know it's still it's a big deal. But
No, it
moving
was it was
state,
a big transition for me from Michigan. It feels like it's close, but it was a big transition because the communities are so different. Going from Michigan, it was a very tight-knit, small community at that time, and Chicago is like this massive, huge Muslim community, mashallah, and just finding yourself there. That was the difficulty, and alhamdulillah, even with that, like Rabata was amazing. I feel like, because I kind of always had Rabata in my life, I found friends and community and like-minded people because of the Rabata sisterhood. And at that time, we didn't have like a Rabata Chicago chapter, but I knew that, oh, this person's in classes and that person's in classes, and so I got to meet. And then also, I remember the first time I actually met Rabata Chicago people, or people who were here, I was doing programs at home, and I met a whole bunch of ladies who were in Chicago, and alhamdulillah, we're like great friends now. And that was years ago. That was in 2013, 2014. Yeah. So,
mashallah.
yeah.
So if you could share one piece of advice, because we started Pilgrims at Home, and Pilgrims at Home is another Tarbiya program, which is in the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. We are on our Ibadah Olympics, and stretching, flexing, all these muscles that we're not used to. A lot of the women who are kind of feeling this apprehension and anxiety are the young moms. And so they're just like, well, I have all these kids, or I have a newborn, and how do I do this type of ibadah? Like, what would you suggest for them? Especially when they're supposed to be doing a lot of dhikr in their dhikr week alternate schedules. Like, how did you fit it in your space of motherhood?
So with motherhood, I feel like, subhanAllah, you just have to, alhamdulillah, you have to put yourself into a different mindset, right? Before, you can have like a set schedule of, okay, for me, before I had my last baby. My baby is now, alhamdulillah, 7.5 months old. So, and then my child before that is 7 years old. So I've had a nice long gap between the two, alhamdulillah. And so, before you have babies, you kind of have, at least with school age kids, you have this thing of, okay, the kids aren't at home from 7 to like 4, or, 8 to 4, or 8 to 3, something like that. You can get a lot done in that time. Having it with young babies is, I realized one of the most important things is always to kind of try to stay in a state of wudu, because you can, if you're in a state of wudu, at least for the Quran, then you can go ahead and recite Quran when, as you're nursing, as you're doing stuff, you can pick up a mushaf, do it on your phone, whatever. The amazing thing with dhikr is you don't even need to be wearing, like, you don't have to be in a state of wudu if you're doing dhikr, and if you're doing your dhikr collection. So I prefer to have my dhikr with me. I love the feel of actually having a real masbaha, but I feel like I can't keep track as easily. So I have my clicker all the time just with me as I'm just throughout the day. The other thing I will say is figuring out, and this was a huge help for me, is figure out in whatever tone that you are reciting your adhkar, like if you're saying la ilaha illallah, la ilaha, whatever tone it is and how fast you do it. So time yourself for 1 minute, or time yourself, actually, how long does it take you to get to 100? Okay. So for a lot of people, let's say with La ilaha illallah, it's 3 minutes. It takes you to get to 100. Okay. So now you can sit there and you just, as you're cooking, as you're doing whatever you're doing, you just need to keep repeating it, and you calculate how many minutes it was and you know how many you did. I felt like that was the biggest help for me, so that I didn't have to constantly, like, as I'm doing other things, I can go ahead and do my adhkar that way. I will say the other thing that has helped me with doing adhkar is, of course, you want to be doing dhikr, like you want to keep your tongue moist with dhikr all the time, right? So you're doing it while you're cooking, or you're nursing, or you're whatever you're doing with the baby. You can be sitting there with your baby and get your kids involved. Kids love it, actually. I used to do that with my youngest when she was like about a year old or so. So we had, when they get out of the like wanting to like tear it apart kind of stage, you can give them a masbaha, like a nice one that's a little bit more solid, that's not going to break as easily. And my kids loved doing dhikr with me. And actually, now that they're older, they still enjoy sitting and having that time, because I'm sure because of the memories they have. My oldest, who is now 11, still likes to come and snuggle next to me when I'm doing dhikr, and then she'll just start doing dhikr because she just likes that feeling, feeling of that. Um, but yeah, so I think figuring out the timing, and then oh yeah, so what I was gonna say is that one of the things that really helps me is, yes, I like to do dhikr all the time, but I also want to make sure that I'm taking out, even if it's 5 minutes, literally just 5 minutes in your day, where you're doing dhikr, where you're really concentrating. And I feel like it's like, you're doing the quantity of it, but you also want to focus for a little bit, as much as you're able to, on the quality. And that's when, it can be after Fajr, it can be after Isha, it can be at any time when your kids are asleep and nobody's bothering. A lot of times for me, actually, this is so random. It's like at Asr time, because usually my older ones are home to take care of the baby at that time, or my husband's around, he's off of work by that time. So around 5 p.m. is a nice spot for me where somebody can take care of the little one, and I can go and just kind of focus on my salah like properly. And then I love to just sit and do my adhkar and really focus on what I'm saying, and make sure that I have that little connection, because I feel like just doing that 5 minutes of connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, it helps throughout the entire day as I'm doing the rest of the quick here and there, where where I'm really just gathering the adhkar. So yeah, so alhamdulillah, that helps.
That's beautiful. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, we'll have more women inspired to just kind of take in those moments, and being in wudu is so helpful, and just having your tools, right? Whether it's a masbaha or a dhikr clicker, it's all helpful. And so what you said reminded me of the Rabata Houston chapter. I know you guys have a chapter in Chicago. The Rabata Houston chapter, we get together every week for a halaqah,
Oh, there
and
you go.
I know this 1,000 count masbaha, and it's so
Yeah,
fun.
it's my mom's.
Right? Like it's so cool. And I'm just like, okay, for 3 minutes or whatever, we're just gonna sit and just do dhikr together. And I was inspired because Anse Leila in Bosnia, where we have, an affiliate there, So if anyone is going to Bosnia, reach out to Anse Leila because she is going to show you a great time. But she said the older women at the masjid get together and they sit in a circle with their big masbaha and they just do dhikr and you just walk into the space of remembrance and it's beautiful, mashallah. So
I mean,
alhamdulillah.
I feel like group Dhikr was one of the things that also really helped me. I believe the first time I probably did it was with at a Rabata event, and I don't remember which one it was, but like the this thing of everybody bringing their hug, their state to a gathering and doing Dhikr together, it's so powerful, and I feel like once you experience that, you want to always kind of experience that again. And you want to be doing dhikr again, just on your own as well. Um, because it's just it's been so beautiful. We have actually in Chicago, we do a dhikr circle with a different organization that's also kind of affiliated with Rabata. And we do a weekly dhikr circle. We've been doing it online, sometimes we do it in person. And it's always so beautiful. And I love that there's a lot of people that will come to that and they say that they've never been to a gathering, like they've never kind of experience the idea of doing Dhikr together. And I feel like it's, we need to push for that. That's like doing once you experience the group kind of environment, you're gonna want to do it on your own. You're gonna want to bring that environment into your home and into your family and with your
Right.
kids. So, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, yeah.
And it's nice to just have friends along the way who you get together with. So whether you're by yourself, you're in a collective, and alhamdulillah, Rabata's mission, creating positive cultural change through creative educational experiences. And dhikr, whether by yourself or with a group, is just this creative experience. And so when I share this big masbah with people, I'm just like, think of it as an educational tool. I'm like, it's just one thing that you could use. And people are like, but you should only use your fingers or da da da. And I'm like, everything is available for us, alhamdulillah, to remember Allah with, mashallah. But thank you, Auntie Sumeyya. You've been so wonderful, alhamdulillah. And if anyone's watching this and it's still Dhul Hijjah, right now it's the first of Dhul Hijjah 2025. And this special 10 days is actually really amazing also this year, mashallah, not just all the blessings and the reward and the forgiveness that we're, aiming to get, but also this year, Auntie Tamra's 40 Lessons for Life is available as a digital book, mashallah. So with any donation to Rabata in these 10 days, the gift from us to you is her 40 Lessons for Life. And it's a workbook, journaling type of book that gives you different activities, journaling prompts. There's a treasure hunt involved too, in addition to all of her lessons that she
Oh my
shared
gosh, that's so
us.
fun.
Alhamdulillah.
I saw her post
I
this
was like,
morning. Alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah. I'm gonna get it printed out so I can start, start my journey, inshallah, with it. Alhamdulillah. But thank you so much, Auntie Sumaya. It was so beautiful to see you. And inshallah, we'll get to see each other soon in person and online.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you for having me on.
Here. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu